Hello, welcome to Aviation 101 with Laura. I have had some students, a more recent group, coming in with some color vision questions. And so I wanted to make this video because the FAA also somewhat recently, like within the last year, changed some things about color vision testing that you want to be aware of if you are aspiring to be a pilot for part of your life career. So the recent change to the FAA basically made you have to take a computerized color vision test when you go get your first medical. I'm not going to go over all the history stuff because you can go watch other videos about that. But really, I want to bring up some questions I've seen relating to strategies to get over color vision limitations. Color vision limitations are very common. Again, there's other content on that. Go look up some of that. I'm going to put some resource links in the description for the video. But currently, there are only 3 tests that are FAA approved. These are the tests. Your aviation medical examiner that you go to will give you one of these tests. From what I understand, the more common one has been this Wagoner computerized color vision test. But yeah. No longer is it acceptable to get a Farnsworth lantern test or use what's called the Ishihara book, which is looking at the numbers in circles with colored dots. Okay, so let's just move forward from there. Okay, so if you don't pass, if you go to your test and you realize I'm going to have problems passing this and you don't pass, this is fairly common. They will give you a medical certificate, assuming you meet all the other requirements for the medical, and it's going to say on it valid for day visual flight rules only. That's going to go on your medical. Now, I want to have good news for you. You can still become a private pilot. Okay. You can even do flying, all kinds of flying. You know, you could even fly at night if you flew with a flight instructor. Okay. But you do have that limitation on your medical. So again, if you're like, I want to be a airline pilot, that's going to be a problem because, yeah, that is not going to be okay to have valid for day visual flight rules only on your medical. Okay, so now let's get into what I've been hearing about from people, and that is this idea of color vision correcting lenses. I'm actually going to go to this link in real time and bring it up here. So what does this say? This is from a place called colormax.org. They do actually have some information on their site about the new 1-year-old change to computerized color vision testing. But here is the interesting part and what they are advertising here. Colormax.org offers FAA-approved tests like 2 of those tests I just told you about, along with customized solutions through our system. Interesting, okay? If you keep going down, it's talking about the changes. And so why the FAA is doing the change, this is all true information. But here is the part I'm having heartburn about. Additionally, colormax.org, blah, 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 okay. It says it has a unique solution for pilots who need assistance in passing the tests. And they have a color correction system where you get color corrective contact lenses. Okay. And then it talks about, you know, we don't want to help stop your career aspirations. We want to help you with your achieving aviation dreams, and pilots should trust them. It looks really great on the surface. But my concern, and where I'm hearing lots of interesting rumblings around, we'll go to this link, which is straight from the FAA Guide for Aviation Medical Examiners. This is what the Aviation Medical Examiner is looking at. You go down at the bottom, it says, important notes. Color vision correcting lenses are not acceptable to the FAA as a means for correcting a pilot's color vision deficiencies. So, my concern is it seems that ColorMax is marketing a product saying you should use this as a pilot and then you should go to your test and then you might pass the test. Well, I mean, I am happy if people can get their color vision corrected. However, the FAA very clearly says you cannot use these special lenses. So if you do that and you pass your medical using these lenses and later you are found out, the penalties for lying on the FAA form when it's asking about using corrective lenses and about eye visits and these bits of information. This is not good because you will get fined and you will have major implications and you will not become an airline pilot if you have your medical revoked or your flight training basically invalidated because you lied to the FAA during your medical exam initially. So that is my big caution. I even found some other information to back this up. This is not FAA source. This is the Aviation Medicine Advisory Service. It's a business in Colorado. I have no connection with them, but it says right here, unacceptable treatments and tests for color vision. Color Max glasses are used to enhance color discrimination. That's exactly what this is talking about. And it says, but the deficiency is not completely corrected and the FAA has not approved these glasses or lenses for color deficient pilots or air traffic controllers, because this is also a thing for air traffic controllers. So that's a big deal, and it's scary to me that there's entities out there that are advertising this for pilots, because I don't think it's ethically a sound thing to do. Now, you might have some very good feedback. I would love to hear about it in the comments, but let's go on to go a little deeper. I found this online where the FAA is basically saying right out on a proposal where they're wanting people to help with research, where it actually says that they see that this Color Max advertising their lenses are going to let them pass the test for the color plate test, which is what they used to do. Now it's no longer acceptable. But now the FAA is worried that the FAA's new computerized color tests are going to be essentially hacked or passed through people using the Color Max lens system. So once again, I mean, I'm telling you, the FAA is onto this, and it's concerning to me that people are still advertising it as a solution to people's careers when it basically implies potentially lying on your medical application form. So, okay, bad news. That was the bad news. What can you do? All right, so let's actually talk about getting rid of the color vision limitation. If you go to the test and you fail, you can then request a review. I will link to the form. It is a form. It's pretty simple. It goes to the FAA flight surgeon, and then they eventually will get back to you, and they will have you schedule a test. I will talk about the OVCT and the MFT in a second, but you would then get what's called a Statement of Demonstrated Ability, or a SODA. It goes on your medical. It's on there for life. You do not have to take any further color vision testing or anything else. I'm going to go to that link I linked there. I'll put it in the description too. This is directly from the FAA guidance for their inspectors. If I scroll down, it actually says right here, defective color vision, and it explains right here what they are going to do on the medical flight test and the operational color vision test. So it's not like surprises, okay? You can go down here and you can read all about what they're going to do. You can also look all over the internet. There's various pilot forums where people explained what they had done, but some of them are older and I can't guarantee that it's current, but that is what the FAA uses for its guidance. Okay, so what is the operational color vision test, OVCT? That is where you would demonstrate your ability to identify aviation lights and colors in what I call the real world. It is light gun signal test. You do this with the FAA inspector. You used to be able to do this with the designated pilot examiner, from what I understand, but from what I'm understanding is now you have to do that with an FAA inspector. And if all you want is a third-class medical that lets you fly at night and you want that limitation removed, this is the only test you would have to do. What can I do to prepare as a pilot? Well, I'm glad you asked. You can go to your local air traffic control tower. You can go to 3 local air traffic control towers if you're in an area where multiple towers exist, and you can talk to them, ask them to do some color vision tests. Okay, make sure you're the right distance away. Again, you can look up information online of how far away it's going to be. I saw 1,500 feet. I haven't verified that, but you stand outside, look at the tower, and they will give you a color, white, red, or green. And then they send it, and you look, and you see if you can see the differences. Now, when I say practice, I'm saying you can go and take a look at these color vision signals, color signals, and see if you can discriminate the difference, okay? So this is not really training yourself, but it kind of is training yourself because you get familiar with what they look like, And I recommend doing that before you try to go demonstrate your ability to differentiate between the signals. I'm not saying they have to be like bright green or something or bright red, but you have to be able to differentiate between the signals so that when you do the test, and if you need light gun signals, you can see those colors. Okay. Then the medical flight test, this is where you would actually have to fly in an aircraft. It's going to be at your expense, of course, with an FAA inspector, not a DPE anymore. And that you have to do for the first or second class medical. So I kind of recommend just do both if you can have the opportunity, because you might as well get that done. There's an oral component, a flight component. I've read online about people being shown radar images, told to differentiate the colors, looking at sectional charts, flying over airports with runway lights turned on, with taxiway lights, with lights on towers. So again, it is a very wise idea to practice, to look at what's going to happen in this test, be prepared for it. But I've heard it being as short as like 20 minutes long, but it's with the FAA inspector. Okay, so that's your medical flight test. If you pass both those, then your limitation on your medical gets removed and you don't have it anymore, and you don't even have to do any more color vision testing. They aren't going to ask you to do it again at all. And the FAA has also said that now if you pass one of these 3 tests during your initial medical, then you don't get tested on it again. Now, at least that's what's going on right now, and it's January of 2026. I feel like if this ColorMax thing starts becoming a headache for the FAA and they start seeing people like trying to hack the test, then I don't know. I mean, then they might start doing like other things to try to detect this, because if people are abusing it, that's going to cause problems. And like I told you guys, and like I was showing you here, the FAA is onto this. So I highly recommend not trying to hack the FAA's test, and don't do that. So thanks for watching Aviation 101 with Laura. If you are looking at getting your medical, check out my other videos about that, because I have some about don't fail on these very simple things, how to answer some questions on the form, don't cause extra headaches for yourself by just doing your homework before you go to your aviation medical exam. But thanks for watching. Let me know your experience with this in the comments. I would like to hear from you guys, and have a great day.